Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View. I'm super excited about this interview. I've wanted to do this interview for quite some time. You know we had my father-in-law, President Donald Trump, on tonight. We are joined by the man behind the scenes, behind Donald Trump, former White House Deputy Chief of Staff and Director of Social Media, as well as a longtime advisor and friend to President Trump and to our whole family. Dan Scavino is here.
I'm here.
Oh my God. Dan, I'm so excited about this. I was actually a little hesitant to ask you to do this because you have been so private. You have been so behind the scenes, but you've done so much. I think people know about you. They know of Dan Scavino. But for anybody that wants to know, how the heck did you end up here? How'd you end up doing this?
It's been a long road, and it's an honor to be here.
Thank
I don't
you.
do much TV,
as
you know, so it's an honor to be here with you this evening. I started out with President Trump when I was in high school as a golf caddy, as everybody knows. But the left carries that narrative of, the golf caddy's in the White House.
Oh, well, they love to say we're all unqualified for everything.
We're unqualified. He's just a caddy. He was a caddy. Well, I didn't come straight from the caddy yard into the White House.
That's right.
I was a caddy back in the high school days, then became the general manager and vice president over at Trump Golf. And I got to know the president when I was a really young age. I was 16 years old, now 45. So
You've been out on the golf course with President Trump.
I have been.
I mean, tell everybody, people think that he's not a real golfer. He's a very good golfer.
He's a very, very good golfer.
He is.
Several club championships at each of his clubs. Hits the ball great off the tee, approach shots. I mean, anybody that goes out on the golf course with him, I'm speaking to all the people that have ever played with him and been out, they have a blast with him.
That's right.
He's truly he's a great time. He's a great guy. And he's got a great game.
He does.
He's got a great game.
Now, I know that I first met you back when Eric and I started dating. Now, I keep messing up how old I am, and maybe everybody starts doing this when you get older. I have now lived in New York for almost 15 years. Eric and I met around 14 years ago. And I'm going to go out on a limb here, Dan Scavino, and say that you were one of the first people to put my name in your phone as Lara Trump and not Lara Unaska.
Yep.
Did you know before I even knew?
I knew. Eric came up and had dinner with you, and I ran up and showed him the phone. I said, Lara Trump.
I know.
And he goes, whoa, we just started dating. I said, Eric, look at my phone. Last name Trump. So whenever you would call, Trump would show up, right?
I was so honored.
I knew from the beginning.
Wow.
I knew from the beginning. And here we are almost, 15 years later?
Yeah.
2 kids you have?
I have 2 kids. You have been right by the president's side in the White House. We've been through 2 campaigns. Many would say we've won 2 campaigns.
Yes, indeed.
You've been through 4 years in the White House, although I know the pressure in the White House, Dan. I want to just give you a second to talk about that because, look, we all take a lot of incoming, but when you work in any White House, I think it is incredibly stressful. The Trump White House, though, I mean, the pressure on everyone that worked in there, and for you to have been in there for 4 years, that's a really big deal. Were you surprised when you got in there at how bad it was?
I was.
From the press, I mean.
Correct. The amount of incoming the president gets and the Trump family and even us. I mean, people say, why don't you do more TV interviews? Why don't you do interviews? Why don't you do print? Why don't you reply to the reporters? And
why bother?
You know, honestly, I'd rather just keep my head down and do my job. And stay focused and be there to support our 45th president. And that's what I always did. It was just always, you know, doing my job, keeping my head down, always being there and present for him. The West Wing was just nonstop. It's literally 18 to 20 hour a day operation. When I went into the White House, I said, okay, I'm going to go. We did the campaign, right? We got in.
Which is crazy. A campaign is crazy.
Nobody thought we were going to be there.
Nobody thought we'd be there.
We had 0% chance of being in that White House. And I did it for 2 years, and I was considering maybe after 2 years, just go on and do other opportunities or start to do something different. I ended up staying the full 4 years, though, as you know and everybody knows. And I had the time of my life. I met and worked with a lot of amazing people. But to see President Trump behind the scenes fight each and every day to put America first was just absolutely unbelievable. It was proud moments. You know, we went to the G7. We traveled all over the world and met with world leaders. You hear about G7. Oh, they'd rather have Joe Biden than have Donald Trump.
Oh, well,
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. Because that man, behind the scenes, negotiated strength and always put our country first.
That's right.
Do you think Germany likes that? Do you think France likes hearing that? No, absolutely not. And he fought like hell to put our country first.
Yeah,
he said it on the campaign, America first. Behind the scenes, what I saw was just remarkable.
It's true. I feel like people always want to know that because, look, oftentimes people are different behind the scenes than they are in front of the cameras. I think Donald Trump is one of the people that, I mean, what you see is what you get. He's telling it to you straight in front of the camera. He's telling it to you straight behind the scenes. But you've known Donald Trump, you know, longer than I have, but we have known him for a long time. We knew him pre-politics. We knew what kind of life he had and what kind of life he could have had. Now, don't forget, he was beloved by almost everyone in Hollywood, the mainstream media, lauded as truly the epitome of the American dream. I mean, what an incredible success story in rap songs, like everything.
They adored him. They loved him.
And then to see, Dan, what happened to him and the way he was demonized and the way they fought against him. But what people never realize, I don't think, is that it doesn't matter. He went into this knowing that they were going to come after him, because you've been around from the beginning with me. He said they're going to come after us. He knew that they would be tough on him. He knew that in order to do what was necessary for this country, he almost had to sacrifice most of what he had enjoyed his whole life. And he did, and he was happy to do it, and he continued to fight, and he still continues to fight. But I mean, were you surprised by that, having known him for so long?
I was. I always heard how bad and how nasty politics is. And don't get involved in politics. You don't want to get involved in politics. They'll kill their own. When I got into the game, and I said, well, it's worth the fight having for our country.
That's right.
But to see him fight every day. So, like you said, we both knew Donald Trump before his presidency, before he started campaigning. The lifestyle he had, you know, just changing the New York City skyline.
Yeah.
Right? Coming up in the car and going to the Trump National Golf Club, Westchester, or Bedminster, or Hudson Valley, or Colts Neck, and just enjoying his lifestyle. Mar-a-Lago on the weekends over the winters. Spent many times down there before this political game started.
Yeah.
And he gave it all up. He gave it all up. You know, when we went to Mar-a-Lago for the weekends, you know, when we were in the White House, those weren't vacations or those weren't time off. I mean, he was consistently on conference calls, phone calls. You had the staff that was continuously around him approving documents and bills. It was just nonstop. It was around the clock, literally for 4 years.
Yeah. And
he gave up a great lifestyle, knowing that they would come after him, like they still are to this day. 2 impeachments. We went through 2 impeachments, full of lies in those hearings.
It's so disgusting.
What they put him through, what they dragged me through, is bullshit.
It is. Total.
Bullshit. And to watch the mainstream media just jump on board and continuously try and take him down is why I'm still here with him today, just to be at his side and in the fight. Yeah,
because we really have never had someone like Donald Trump who was willing to give it all up, who was willing to say, you know what, it doesn't matter what you say about me, it doesn't matter what you do to me. I'm in this for America and for the American people. I feel like I want to tell you this, or you might already know this story, but I really feel like it speaks to the person that Donald Trump is. For people that don't know, right before my wedding, I broke both of my wrists. I ride horses. I broke both of my wrists in a riding accident. So I wasn't even technically his daughter-in-law yet. Eric and I were going to be married, you know, several weeks later. And as you said, my father-in-law would often drive up from the city to Westchester, like on a Saturday or Sunday, to play golf. Now, I don't know where Eric was. I was at home with my dog, Charlie, at our house there by the golf course. Yeah. And all of a sudden, I mean, I must have looked like a hot mess, too, because I had just gotten done with, like, having wrist surgery.
I remember that. That was awful.
My doorbell rang, and it was Donald Trump at my door, my fiance's dad, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like what hi. Yeah. So he was like, you know what, I just wanted to come by and check on you and make sure you're okay and see if you need anything. So for anybody that wonders, you know, about the heart and soul of this person, he loves his family. I wasn't even technically his family yet, but I'll never forget him taking time out to do that. He didn't need to do that. He could have just driven past our house and gone up. But he does things like that for people. The stories about him before he became president, you know, doing things without ever needing it to be mentioned, you know, it's really who he is. And I think it makes people, those of us who know him, sad to see the way they characterize him. And then to see, Dan, the way that they laud Joe Biden, the way they fawn
Yeah.
all over him,
Yeah.
the way they act like asking him what flavor ice cream he's getting is acceptable journalism in the United States of America. I find it absolutely disgusting to see the difference.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Well, when President Trump has ice cream, they tell you how many
two
scoops he's having, how many scoops he's having, sprinkles or no sprinkles.
Oh my gosh!
It's no different than that whole thing at West Point, right? When the
Yes.
whole West Point thing,
Oh.
that went on for a week. And literally before that event took place, he was saying those stairs are going to be slippery as hell.
Yeah,
he tells the story all the time.
He does.
And it's a great story to tell. Because then you have another president going up the stairs of Air Force One. Falling
up the stairs.
But then they revert and they go back to, well, when Trump was at West Point, he was going down, and it's brutal. It's a nasty. It's sad.
It's
sad. People are sick and tired of politics because of all the fighting that goes on. And I don't think it's going to ever change. Tons of lies, lie after lie after lie.
It's terrible.
Yeah, but we can never do anything right.
Oh no,
in the mainstream media's eyes, ever.
No,
ever. Or we'll just get dragged right through.
In fact, they seek out with all of us anything that they can kind of twist around and say, look at these lunatics, look at the crazy stuff that they're trying to say. We're all good people.
Yeah,
Look,
we
I came
are.
from a similar background probably to you. I grew up in a middle-class family in North Carolina. Believe me, I had no idea I would be part of a family like the Trump family, let alone part of, a first family. I'm sure you never grew up thinking you would end up working for the President of the United States in the White House.
Last place, growing up, the last place I ever thought I would be working was in the White House.
And yet here we are because, we worked hard, we did the right thing our entire lives. I want to ask you, though, about this because, look, social media obviously has become sort of synonymous with Donald Trump. Everybody kind of either loved or hated his Twitter. So everyone kind of knows Donald Trump for Twitter. Either you loved his Twitter or you hated his Twitter. I mean, good news, folks. Donald Trump is not mean tweeting. Gas prices through the roof. Inflation through the roof. We are not respected anymore around the world. But Dan, no more mean tweets. So everybody relax. You have been the person, I think, that Donald Trump, President Trump, has turned to. You had control of so much of his social media, meaning he could tell you to tweet something, and you were one of the few people in the world that actually had access to do that. Tell me about that, and is there a lot of pressure with that?
There was a lot of pressure. That started in the campaign days, back in the campaign days when he put me in charge of social media, and then implemented the tweet process where we would do it on the road or on the plane, where he would dictate different things, and I would send them out, or a lot of the events where naturally that's just content you want to push out. So he left that up for me to do. It was a lot of pressure, misspellings or it was definitely a lot of pressure.
You were in charge of Covfefe.
Covfefe is a long story, and I'll go back to what Sean Spicer said. Those that needed to know about it was, that's what it was. And that one's for you, Sean. That one's for you out there, Spicer. Those that need to know. But the Covfefe one is probably one of the all-time greats.
Yes.
One of these days I'll be able to tell or share that story.
Okay.
But it definitely a challenge pushing the content out. So many different people involved. When we were in the White House, just pushing the right messaging and communicating with the American people. It was just him and I on the phone that had the access for it. And, that's a big question out there. Who's doing it? Who has access to it? It was the two of us.
I know.
It was the two of us.
Big deal.
It was exciting. We had a lot of fun doing it. We were transparent to the American people.
Incredibly.
All the time. Whether people liked it or not, we were completely transparent in everything we were doing.
And you know what I love, too, is you look at the tweets of so many politicians, whether it was Hillary Clinton in 2016, whether, the Biden White House and Joe Biden now, that they have run everything that is pushed out through like 25 people. They have teams of people that they dissect everything, they suck the life out of it. It's got no meaning whatsoever. It is so bland and boring. And I think that's one of the things that people loved about Donald Trump's social media is it was really him. He didn't want it to go through 100 people. And you know what? Sometimes things were harsh. Sometimes you need things to be told to you, in a kind of tough love kind of way. And that time that Donald Trump was president of the United States, towards the end of his first term in office, the social media companies in America realizing, I think, in 2016 that they had allowed and given a space to a candidate like Donald Trump to connect with so many people out there. They thought, oh my gosh, we're the reason perhaps that Donald Trump became president. And then they have decided to go extreme on the other end, censor conservatives, taken the president of the United States off of so many of these social media outlets. What is your thought about all this? Because it seems incredibly un-American.
It is un-American. It's censoring free speech. It's a disgrace what was done. You know, I have an opportunity a lot of different times to tweet or on Facebook or Instagram, talk about the story or what's going on behind the scenes, or if I choose to do so, blast the social media companies that take down a conservative voice. Or the truth of the matter is, what they did was an absolute disgrace. And there's a lot of things we have going on right now behind the scenes, as you know, with a lot of it that we're doing. What they have done by removing President Trump is they've made him stronger.
They don't know. I think you're right.
Taking him off Instagram, taking him off of Twitter, taking him off of Facebook, all those platforms out there that have removed, they have made him stronger. I mean, he talks about the statements that he often does. He'll put out the beautiful statements, as he says, and they get amplified by we have the most incredible supporters in the world out there.
We do.
We really do. And they amplify his messaging for him, all while behind the scenes, and I never talk about it all too much, but we are constantly meeting, and he's very involved every single day, meeting with different companies, engineers, tech. They're going to make him stronger, because what they have forced him to do is come up with something on his own. Right, to message out.
Right.
And that's what we're working on every day. You know, we put up that blog page. You know, that wasn't a blog. We got hit for it for being the new social media platform.
It was never intended
to be a social media platform.
Yeah.
The intention of that was just to get those statements up on a website so people can view them. They're blasted out on an email list, and then they were put on the website. But they went crazy. They said, oh, his new social media platform. It's a real winner.
Imagine them blowing something out of proportion when it came to Donald Trump.
No, they're losers. They're losers, and that's what we're dealing with. But so just know, to the Trump supporters that are out there, what we have going on behind the scenes. We're working every day. They have made him stronger, and we're going to come out with something that's just going to blow everybody away.
Wow.
They have forced him. They said, okay, you're off of our platform. Okay, no problem. What we have coming in the months ahead is big.
I love it.
I never talk about it. I never tweet about it. I never post it on Facebook. Just know that we're working behind the scenes really hard to come up with some different various platforms for the president and for everybody. Because, you know, conservatives are getting censored. This would be for everybody. Nobody should be censored.
Even if you're not conservative, every single American citizen has their First Amendment rights, their freedom of speech. And you're right, it is fully violating. And now we look back, Dan, and we see so many of the things that they tried to censor us for a year ago. For, oh gosh, hydroxychloroquine. You posted anything about hydroxychloroquine, kicked off of social media, your post taken down, maybe you're banned for a day or a week or whatever it is, discussing the origin of COVID-19 possibly coming out of the Wuhan lab. No way, can't do it. And now we go back and we see, gosh, all of these things that who are these people? Who do they think they are? They allow Hamas, a terrorist organization, they allow the Ayatollah Khamenei to post about committing jihad, yet they take down conservative voices. They take down people who say, hey, you know what? My dad used hydroxychloroquine and it worked, off of social media. It is insane what is happening, but I'm so excited to hear you say what you just said about the platform that ultimately I think we'll look forward to an announcement about in the future months. The reality is, how dumb are these people? The one person in the entire world that you decided to mess with on this was one of the greatest entrepreneurs, one of the greatest businessmen of all times, one of the greatest minds in the history of the world, in my opinion. I mean, they don't make them like Donald Trump.
I completely agree. They poked a bear.
And now they're going to get what's coming to them. Wow. That's very exciting.
It's going to be awesome, and it's time. Right now, these big tech platforms, they're the most powerful people in Washington, D.C., these CEOs of these companies. They are the most powerful people in Washington, D.C. They say, oh, Congress is, or the president is, or no, it's big tech.
Yeah, because they control the narrative.
Big tech controls it all.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Something needs to be done about it.
Wow. You know, President Trump's side, you have been from the beginning of, I mean, gosh, for so long now. How long have you worked with Donald Trump?
It's been about 30 years.
Wow.
About 30 years.
Amazing. And you know what the interesting thing is, Dan? People will find this if you look at the people that are close to Donald Trump, that are part of the Trump organization, et cetera, they have been around for a very long time. That only happens in great companies. That only happens with really special and great people. You don't often find that. I don't know what your future plans will be, but I want to say on behalf of America, on behalf of every conservative out there, thank you.
Thank you.
I know it has been a sacrifice because, gosh, how many times have you and I talked about it?
We talked about it a lot.
It's not easy. They don't make any of this easy. And by the way, nothing can prepare you for this. I mean, you know, FYI to everyone out there, we didn't get a crash course on how to survive an onslaught from the mainstream media, from the left. We just went out here and we did this. But you're one of those people that has truly made an impact nationwide and worldwide. And without you, I don't know where we'd be. So thank you for all that you've done. I know it hasn't been easy. I always hope that you'll be around. I don't know what your future plans are. Perhaps you'll come back and discuss that with us at a different time. But I always ask people this on this show, and I'd love to hear from you. What do you feel like is the best part of America or being an American, and what do you find scariest and maybe most damaging to the future of our country right now?
The best part of being an American is just our everyday freedoms that we get to enjoy. And the scariest thing about America right now is the direction it's headed, which is south, real quick, with these new policies that the Biden administration is implementing. I will tell you that I think it's very important that President Trump runs again for president.
Amen.
And you ask me what my future plans are. I'll give you a little bit. There's some opportunities out there I may take. But right now, my future plans are just being at his side and pushing him along and being with him for the upcoming rallies we're going to start to having. We need to flip the House in 2022.
That's right.
And in 2024, we need to take back the White House. And I'm going to just, that's the message behind the scenes I'm giving. You know, people will sometimes say, what goes on behind the scenes? Well, my message is, Mr. President, this country needs you for 4 more years to finish off what we did not complete in our first term. So we're going to just keep fighting like hell. And I'd love to see nothing more than for him to run for president of the United States again.
Well, we'll wait to see what's on the horizon on a lot of fronts.
For sure.
Well, Dan Scavino, I want to say thank you. Again, I know you don't do any sort of interviews. You typically like to stay away from this stuff. But thank you for sitting down with us. I know that our audience loved hearing from you.
It's a pleasure.
And when you have more to share, perhaps you will come back and share it with us.
I would love to.
Amazing.
It's an honor to be with you.
Thank you.
Absolute honor.
Thank you. Well, thanks to Dan Scavino and to everybody at home. As always, thank you for joining us on The Right View. We'll see you back here next time for more.